Local 4 News starts now with a breaking news alert.
Breaking news coming out of Ann Arbor as we start the 5 o'clock hour. 3 people are in custody after a shooting in that city.
It happened this afternoon outside a strip mall near Packard and Platt. Shooting forced nearby schools into lockdown, but those have now since been lifted. Police say one person was rushed to the hospital with a gunshot wound. We also noticed a crash nearby, but it's unclear if that is at all connected. Police say all 3 suspects are in custody and there's no active threat to the community. Police are asking people to avoid the area as they continue their investigation.
All right, also breaking tonight at 5 o'clock, Jarvis Butts, you might remember, he is the man charged in the Neziah Harris murder case, is now facing additional criminal charges in a separate case. We now know prosecutors say Butts sexually assaulted an 8-year-old relative at a Detroit auto repair shop. The suspected assault happened between June of 21 and June of 22. Butts was arraigned today on 1st and 2nd degree criminal sexual conduct. He remains in jail with his trial in the Neziah Harris case set to begin next month. Of course, we'll keep you posted as that unfolds. Our other top story tonight at 5, cleanup continues after a massive water main break in Oakland County.
A 42-inch pipe burst yesterday, causing big problems for people living near 14 Mile west of M5. Right now, there's no word on when full water service will be restored. And the water main break is affecting not only residents, but local businesses, too. Jay Scott Smith is live in Novi, where restaurant owners are struggling to stay open. Jay.
Yes, good evening, everybody. And that water main break yesterday really did do a number on people, not just in their homes and in schools, but as mentioned, at restaurants and other businesses. They were especially hit hard because water is what they really need to survive.
We closed yesterday, very slow today.
Amy Kachmar worked at the El Mariachi restaurant on 14 Mile here in Novi for 13 years, and she's seen a few water main breaks. But Thursday's breach of that 42-inch pipe presented some unique challenges.
People hesitant or don't know if you're open. Phone's been ringing off the hook, checking to see if we're even open or if we have water.
Notices posted on the door, as well as the empty coffee pots, reminded any prospective customer of what was and wasn't available today.
You can only serve bottled stuff, alcohol, canned soda, bottled water, no anything else.
So much of what restaurants do relies on water for food service and cleanliness, and it's changed how things are handled in the front and the back of the house when a water main breaks.
Everything changes. Everything changes. The hand washing procedure takes twice as long just to do that. So for cooks as well, you know, they can't touch anything, so they have to wash their hands, then they have to use sanitizer.
Jatinder Das has owned Ricky's Sushi for 17 years. Pots of water were boiling in his kitchen today. Water that he bought in cases. And he can only make ramen instead of sushi. He also had to shut down yesterday, costing him thousands of dollars in revenue.
I don't know, it's people very scary. You know, a couple of people call me, say, do you guys have good water? I say, I have bottled water. You know, so we don't know how long this is completely bad business going to be, I know.
This couldn't have happened at a worse time of week for both restaurants, as they said their biggest days are Thursday through Saturday, and it could be a tough weekend if the water situation doesn't improve.
It's been slow today. I think people don't know if it's open or some of the blockages probably are stopping traffic from coming by this area. I know it's still got water over there, so we'll see. It is Friday night, so.
So the Great Lakes Water Authority is still working on finding out what exactly caused the breach of that pipe over there on Thursday morning. But the restaurant owners we talked to said that they're doing everything they can, including a lot of workarounds, buying more water, as we saw in a couple of those different places, and just hoping the water pressure improves, so at least they'll be able to have a much more productive weekend. We're live in Novi. I'm Jay Scott Smith for Local 4.
Let's hope that is the case. Okay, Jay, thank you.
All right, now to this. Michigan lawmakers have reached a tentative bipartisan budget deal ahead of that looming deadline to avoid a government shutdown. Governor Gretchen Whitmer and House Speaker Matt Hall made that announcement last night. We brought that to you first on Local 4 News at 11 o'clock. Noel Friel has a closer look at some of the key priorities in this budget on both sides of the aisle. Noel, fill us in.
Yeah, this deal is expected to lower costs for Michiganders, reduce waste, and improve government efficiency. State lawmakers are expected to vote on this budget on Tuesday, just before the deadline. With the looming deadline to pass a state budget coming up on October 1st, Michigan lawmakers have reached a bipartisan budget framework. Some of the priorities for Republicans include returning state workers to the office, cracking down on unfilled state government positions labeled ghost employees, and reining in government spending.
Budget has grown by 43% since Governor Whitmer took office, and that's something we think is unacceptable on the Republican side.
The priorities for Democrats: lowering costs for families and protecting funding for schools.
So it's going to take some revenue, but we're not going to do it on the backs of working families, and we're not going to do it by compromising on our public safety and our public schools.
One of the key issues in the new budget is long-term funding for road construction. The proposed budget will allocate all gas tax revenue towards roads and create a new 24% wholesale tax on marijuana, something that's already receiving pushback from the state's cannabis industry.
That was a piece that we looked at other comparative states, and Michigan was probably one of the lowest in the country as far as marijuana tax, and so that's an area that was negotiated on.
You know, this is an industry that has been growing. This is an industry that has generated millions, hundreds of millions of dollars of revenue for the state, and we'll obviously reassess. Look, if the industry ends up struggling, we can reassess and look at it. But for right now, you know, this is a common sense tax.
And coming up tonight at 6, we'll have much more on that wholesale marijuana tax. You'll hear from a dispensary that's pushing back on the tax, arguing that added cost will get pushed onto consumers. Live in Detroit, Noelle Friel, Local 4.
Everybody's relieved we're at this point where both sides are at least moving forward with a plan. That's the good news here. Noelle, thank you. We'll see you later tonight. High school football fans, don't forget to catch our Local 4 Game of the Week. You can stream it live on Local 4 Plus. Clarkston is taking on Rochester Adams in the State Champs Game Time Live presented by Hungry Howie's.
Right now, Hobie Artigue is live in Clarkston, where these two rivals are ready to battle it out under the Friday night lights. Hobie, what's the atmosphere like as these teams get ready for kickoff?
Adams just got here. Clarkston's getting ready for this game, and it is always a show when these two teams meet. A big game here in Week 5 for two teams that always have high expectations. I mean, you see the signage behind me. Clarkston has 3 state championships since 2013. Adams was in the D1 state championship game just a few years ago, but tonight they meet with OAA Red bragging rights on the line. Now, this series has gone back and forth over the last few years, but last year it was dominated by Adams. The Highlanders won in the regular season, and they also won the matchup in the playoffs, a 41-0 result. Clarkston remembers that, and they want to change that. But these two programs know it is going to be a fight tonight between two groups that have a ton of respect for one another.
It's a team that both them and us were familiar with each other, so I think they are a team that wants to be physical, they want to be aggressive, so we have to start by winning the battles up front.
The execution and not making mistakes, because they're really talented and they're explosive on offense and they got great players and they're well coached. So we have to be at our best, not make mistakes, control what we can control, and they've got a chance of stealing it.
Both of these teams come into this game at 3-1. Clarkston lost a close game against Harper Woods, a team that is tearing through their schedule right now, still undefeated. Adams has one loss. That was to West Bloomfield, but that's a game they played without their starting quarterback. Both of these teams at 3 wins, only one can get to 4, and it's a game that you can see streaming on Local 4 Plus. It's our State Champs Game Time Live Game of the Week presented by Hungry Howie's, guys, coming up at 7 o'clock.
Two great teams. It's going to be a great game, Hobie. Thank you. Now we go to the weather as we wrap up the week with sunshine. What a perfect day for a football game.
Yeah, and a live look at the Detroit riverfront, too, tonight. It's going to be great. Let's get over to Kim Adams and a first look at the forecast and what we can expect this weekend, Kim.
Well, it's our first weekend of fall, but it feels a little bit more like summer. But, you know, the orchards are open and people enjoying them this evening. It'll be beautiful. I mean, temperatures will be in the low 70s at 7 o'clock. And once the sun sets around 7:22, it does get cool. So at 9 o'clock, we'll be into the 60s, low 60s by 11 o'clock tonight. So the hourly forecast here in Metro Detroit for tomorrow will make it up to a high of 80 degrees, and it will be warm for the next several days. In fact, our average high is now at 70, and we're going to be well above it. But it does cool down at night. Here's a look at our overnight lows for tonight. 55 at Metro Airport, 56 in Pontiac, upper 50s in Mount Clemens. We need to go searching for rain because even though we had a couple of days of those downpours, a lot of folks didn't see anything, and we'll see if we can find any in that 7-day forecast.